that serving at our pleasure, I guess. That, what do they call it? At will employee. So we, when I wrote the letter, I says, yeah, I'll write him. I've been in contact with him. I got thinking, I thought, well, that's just not really 2 weeks notice, but he's known that it's coming. I think that's why he didn't show up for the he probably thought it was a waste of time for him to show up on June 11th anyhow.
Yeah, it wasn't a very long discussion.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you, Don, for coming then
Sure.
as well.
You have the contract in front of you. I printed that out. Yesterday, we have a 2080 agreement in place for 6 counties, and as I was reviewing that yesterday, it came to mind that we really don't need a 2080 agreement with the counties because the region's paying the salary. So I contacted Rick, and we just discussed doing a simple contract similar to what we do with the coordinators. And the only feedback that I received from a board member on this is Dennis contacted me about duration number 6, that it's perpetual in nature. That's the language that we have in our coordinator contracts. And I thought that this termination clause would cover it, but I ran this by Gary today to see what his recommendation would be, and he said just take number 6 out altogether, the duration. And that number 7, which would be 6 then, will cover us.
Any discussion about that? Consideration of eliminating 6?
That would be my preference.
Anybody else?
We then take that out of we have that stipulation in the coordinator's contracts, the duration?
Yes.
Does it need to stay there too, or do we need to?
The coordinators are covered under the 2080, the advocate is not.
Okay.
They are specified as staff of the region. So if the region dissolves or terminates, their jobs are finished just like
So
mine.
then basically that's the same thing, 7 is saying
Yes,
it's under
brings it
20.
back to the 2080. Right.
So we can take it out of there,
The perpetual nature,
yeah. Why not?
we could.
I don't know, if you want it consistent or not, I don't know. It doesn't have to be, it's a different job description, so.
Mhm.
Okay, no, that's fine, I'm just saying what I'm thinking out.
I think if I recall, we run it that way just so that we didn't have to look at contracts every year. It was
Renewal.
just
Sure.
basically to designate their responsibilities and that the region would reimburse the employer of record for those salary and benefits.
So which way are we going? Are we eliminating or not eliminating? 6.
Yes.
In this contract,
Yes.
but not in the others, okay.
Okay.
On the termination clause, Don, the provisions of the Rolling Hills 2080 give like a 30-day notice to get out of the contract?
Yes, we have a term and termination clause in our 2080
Okay.
for time off.
I guess we should ask Neil, when were you letting Brett go?
June 30th is his last day.
His last day? When's this contract going to take effect?
July 1st.
So should we maybe hire Sandy Sweeney as full-time in Calhoun County?
Yes, and I've been in touch with your auditor about
Okay.
that. She was aware.
Okay.
But
Probably
this
better get it
had
on
to
the
happen
agenda
first,
right away.
so she got the compensation, and
Yeah.
next week she needs to be on the agenda, yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? I would entertain a motion to proceed.
Make a motion to accept this contract with the removal of number 6.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
And then you'll have a contract that's clean, or do we need to
No, I'll have
type it?
Rick sign this so we can send this to the Calhoun board for Tuesday, and then I'll give him a clean copy.
Okay.
Yes, after I take
We'll
this out.
eliminate it and initial it. So we,
It's just the, okay. It's just the signature page.
Oh, you want to do it that way? Just strike through it, initial it, and then give it to,
we could.
okay. That's fine.
It does have a separate signature page, that's why you can do it either way.
Yeah. Yeah, whichever.
I'll have you initial it when you sign it then.
All right. Ready to, the next bullet point is Plains Area Mental Health Center contract action to amend.
I don't know if you recall at the last meeting that we were discussing the med management, and that Plains area went above the amount that we block granted for this year. A year ago, we had negotiated decreasing the med management from 60,000 down to 40,000 because we were trying to move more towards a fee-for-service model for some of the things that we're paying the mental health center for. And we put provision in our contract that once they reached the 40,000 capacity, that we would pay fee-for-service above that. They were having issues with their electronic medical records, so weren't able to bill us on a monthly basis for February on when they ran out of their $40,000. So then I sent you the email with the amount that we owed to Plains area over and above that per our contract, which is about $65,000 in total. And when I responded to Kim and Brenda about that, Kim actually proposed amending the contract that we signed at the board meeting last month to reflect, or increasing that from 40,000 for next year up to 80,000, because for this fiscal year, they are anticipating to spend 106,000 in med management, which is a good thing for Plains area. But if we go to the 80,000, that's the max, that's the cap. So if we go above that, then we don't pay anything extra. Because this time it cost us
So
way
right now
higher
we
than
pay
the
the
80.
40 plus the others.
Plus the other, yes.
How did we miss it that far?
Well, we told you way back we had estimated that we would probably bill out about 123,000.
No, I mean from the initial number. We had discussed 40 with paying above, thinking it might be in the 65 area, and we end up almost double that.
Right, and I think, these are the notes that were taken in when we presented, or when Patrick and Brenda presented to the board about the med management. But when you guys wanted to do the fee-for-service, and I think the 40, I don't know where the 40 came from, but the estimate that was given was for the year, it was going to be about $123,000.
I recall the discussion. I guess I don't recall the 123,000 being thrown out. But
I don't remember exactly what the figure was and when the contract was presented last year, but I was thinking it averaged the previous fiscal year about 65. And so we were looking at, let's do 40 as a base, and then.
right,
the-
that's how I
the
recall
service
it too.
on
And
top of that.
I guess I don't recall the discussion of the 123 at all. And I may have missed it.
Okay. well,
That's fine.
This is what Brenda gave me. She could not be here today, but, you know, it was about 1,408 services, or, 1,877 services. So, I mean,
Do you have a figure from the previous year?
no, I don't have that. But you have to remember too, we added providers. So every time we add medication or prescribers, we're going to do more of that type of service. And we are going to add another prescriber in January. So, you know, that is probably always going to go up because we are serving more people. We're doing more of that medication management service, which is doing all those pre-authorizations for medications, dealing with the docs, dealing with that coordination of care type thing for that prescriber. We've also hired medics that have been able to do a lot more of that medication management. So I am willing to cap it again, but just based on this last year's history, you know, we've well exceeded that 40,000 and well exceeded the 60,000. But I am agreeable to capping it as a compromise.
I guess I'll start by asking what your recommendation would be, Dawn, and then open it up to discussion to the board.
My recommendation would be to go with the cap, because this was really costly for us this year.
Okay. Open the floor to the board.
80,000 cap.
Well, I guess that's better than continuing to have a open check.
Target.
As, I guess if you weigh the things, I kind of agree with the discussion about what we had for a discussion way back when, and I certainly never heard that 120,000 plus number thrown out before. Not saying that it couldn't have been, but I guess I think we have to have some surety that everything is not open-ended. And with the cap, I guess we can, at least on this issue, have a limit.
Anybody else?
Just a question, the 80,000, it'd be a, it's not, I mean, that's what we're gonna pay. Whether we're above or below, we're paying 80,000.
No, if we go below,
It's still,
I mean, that's
we're
the
still-
cap.
Okay, that's the cap.
You know,
Okay,
and
that's what I
we give
wanna,
Dawn monthly or quarterly, I can't remember what we, and the
Sure.
stats to back up those numbers.
yeah, that's fine, I just wanna,
Yeah, no,
for
that's the cap.
clarification,
So.
That's the max.
If we would go below that this year for some reason,
okay.
then, great.
Well, fee for service, I mean, sometimes, you know, we like that in some situations, but
Didn't like it this
sometimes,
time.
no, sometimes it can bite you, I mean, that's just.
Oh, it is.
The risk you take. It's-
And I
Yep.
wasn't here for that, but my understanding was that was just, the discussion was just try it and see, and, but then again, when we add providers, it's, the volume is gonna go up. So,
Anybody else?
And what's the effective date of this new cap then? July 1st?
Starts July 1st.
For the coming year, coming fiscal year. I would entertain a motion to proceed.
Well, we blew this out of the water by 20-some thousand, then, right? We spent 100 and plus.
No, by 60.
Yeah, 106,000 is what they estimated for this year.
So,
Is there room in the budget for this additional, if you're only budgeting 65?
well, we spent twice that,
Yeah,
so
I guess, yeah.
we're better off. I mean, I'm glad to have the offer, I guess. You know, a few of us are on the Plains Board, and I don't know if they discussed why we would cap it at 80, but,
we're compromising.
okay.
We understand, where the regions are at. We are a community mental health center, and our budgets are always gonna be tight, so it forces us to watch what we do, too. I don't wanna be greedy, so to speak, that's not what we're about, so.
I can say something. You want the service or don't you? I mean, what we're basically asking Plains to do is take a $23,000 hit in the hole. I don't understand that. I mean, if the service is gonna cost $123,000, is that not what the service is? Unless you're saying, no, we don't want to serve a certain number of people, or if you're gonna say, let's only serve a certain number of people, then that's it. But just to say, well, thank you for that offer, but we're just gonna let you take that $23,000 hit. I don't know. It doesn't seem quite right. You want the service or don't you? I'm done. At this moment.
Yeah, I was going to add that. What's the direction the board wants to go here?
I'm for it, I mean, it's
Is it-
fine.
Are you willing to make that in a motion
Sure, I'll
form?
make that motion. I made the last motion, so.
You were really active today.
Yeah.
Is there
I'll
s-
make that a motion, then we accept the offer. Capping med management at 80,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. We've kicked this around a bunch. Is there any further discussion?
The motion is to raise it to the 80 cap.
Do you want any provision in the contract for if they come in at 60, for some reason. I don't think that'll happen, but do you want a provision in there similar to what we've done with some of our block grants, that there should be reimbursement?
Well, my understanding, this is not a block grant. We will fund it up to 80,000 cap. Is that correct?
Right, but if they come in at 60 for some reason,
She had committed not,
Right, it's not gonna be-
that wouldn't be spent, but
Yeah, and I think the way we'll do it is invoice you what we produce for that month. And, you know, once it goes over, we can still send you the data, but you'll stop paying us until.
that would be good, instead of the quarterly payment that we're doing now.
Right,
That would be
but
good.
if we still, we would still like you to see the data,
Yeah.
to see what we're doing, because we may come back next year and ask for an increase, I don't know, but we want you to have that data.
which we want as well. All right, motion's been made and seconded. I'm going to call for the question. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Bullet point C is one that we added for some discussion about the Woodbury.
All I know is that the mediation meeting took place with Director Foxhoven and Rick Schultz and the supervisor member from all three counties on May 29th. And Director Foxhoven, from what Jeremy Taylor relayed to me, is that he indicated very clearly that Woodbury County is considered a member of Rolling Hills as of July 1st, 2019. And that those two counties need to find another county or two to join them, or they will be needing to join another region. And one of the sticking points of Woodbury is they wanted to renegotiate a 2080. And Director Foxhoven did not think that was necessary. He recommended a memorandum of understanding outlining some provisions between the three counties to stay together as of July 1st, 2018. And an MOU was drafted by Woodbury County, had some specific requests that they ended up paring down to, from what I understand from Jeremy, just an understanding between the three counties that they're going to stick to what their budget is set for fiscal year 18, so that there's not spending over and above that. And so it was pretty general, and I felt that it was something that all counties would agree to, but at this point, there is no MOU in place. And it was on the news last night, if any of you get the Sioux City stations, that's one of the issues, is that they have not agreed on an MOU. And so as of July 1st, they are in limbo. You know, we're coming up against the start of the fiscal year, and they're not together yet.
Is Woodbury County invited to our meetings?
They are. But Jeremy asked me, last month and this month if I felt it was necessary for him to be here at this meeting, and I said until July 1st rolls around when we do our transition year, I said I didn't feel it was necessary because we're just doing contracts, and our transition year doesn't start until July 1st. So.
Any other questions for?
If he comes, he's just basically as a spectator, correct?
Mhm.
I guess the other thing that I'd like to clarify a little bit, when we talk about Woodbury, in my mind, they are not a guaranteed member of this region until all bullet points are met. And I think that we need to put that in when we say that Woodbury is going to be a member of Rolling Hill July 1st of 2019, provided all items of the documents are met in full. Because I guess what Director said didn't really allude to that, and I think that's a very key point, at least in my mind.
DHS is aware of the MOU because it was brought up at our commission meeting last Thursday. We talked about quite extensively. DHS is aware of the MOU that we have with Woodbury County.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
What were their comments on it?
Not a lot. There's a fair amount of discussion about the regions in general and some of the counties that are looking for either to form it, especially up in the land of Lincoln, about whether there's some counties that are going to break off and try to form their own region. DHS is very insistent that a new region will have to meet all requirements. The code was very specific about having to have a minimum population of at least 100,000, a city of at least 24,000 or greater in that region.
Which they're holding that new legislation is separate from the requirements of the rest of the regions. I mean, they basically wrote new criteria.
So when did that,
At the-
a couple of these last
the 11th
stipulations
hour, this got inserted
of this
into the
last year?
books. Just right as the bill was being negotiated and signed, yes. I hadn't even heard about it until we had about 2 weeks ago. I didn't even know it was in the bill, that there was an option, and it only pertained to county social services. It does not pertain to Sioux Rivers. So the information that I sent you the other day regarding the approach language, I did go back and research the code and get clear down to the bottom and found it. And because I was concerned about the assigning clause by the director, that, you know, how that's going to affect us next year perhaps, but it only applies to those, to the CSS region.
No,
So these you said
No.
is only applied to that?
Yes, it's in the CSS, yeah.
it does not. It applies to our region also. If Plymouth and Sioux cannot form a region on their own, DHS does have the authority to sign. That's what we got told at the commission
Well, that's the
meeting.
way
That's-
that's-
well,
That seems a little counter to what you sent out to us.
Well, and it does, the assigning clause is it's under the County Social Services region, and then everything that applies to that is for CSS. But I think that DHS can use that as,
Well,
they may try to promote it that way, and we've seen those things happen before.
it was, Foxhoven did tell, at the mediation, did tell Plymouth and Sioux that if they didn't find someone, they would get assigned. Because I got that firsthand from a Plymouth County supervisor.
And they are meeting with Northwest Iowa Care Connections this afternoon, Plymouth and Sioux are.
One of the comments here is it allows the DHS director to assign a county that has not joined a region by February 1st, 2019. So if Woodbury County does not have a region, because it did not meet our bullet points, it could be assigned to us anyhow by the director.
You know, I had that same thought when I read that they could come in the back door and not have to bring and abide to everything that they initially agreed to.
Yeah, but I think we've already made that point moot because we've already accepted them and they're already planning on coming.
But if they don't meet the terms of the MOU, and DHS puts them in our region anyway,
Exactly.
But they won't break up a region. DHS will not break up a region. I got told that too. If Woodbury County does not meet our MOU requirements, they're still in the Sioux Rivers region. DHS was very adamant. They are not going to break up a region or interfere with a region.
I don't know, it looks like the director's got absolute power.
They initially had it in that first year.
But I think it's
But
kind of
then
been re-energized.
It
from what
went
Dawn-
away
and what
after
Dawn
that.
sent out.
I think that would be probably a court item, I about guarantee.
Okay.
No, not necessarily by us. I'm just saying that if anybody would not approve of that consideration,
Well, I guess how would you feel if they didn't meet the terms in the MOU and and Plymouth and Sioux find a county, so the director comes around and says, you guys have to take Woodbury as they are? I'd feel more than mad, I guess.
yeah.
And as I understand reading, we wouldn't have any recourse.
I do want to share with you that I had a meeting with Jan Higas from DHS earlier this month, and she's probably going to be coming out to meet with at the August meeting with you. I disagreed with her. What she was saying is that the governance board needs to not waffle on this, that the director is not going to let that happen. And I said, are you going to share that with the board? And she said she wanted to speak with Teresa Armstrong first, and then she will probably be out in August to visit with you. I don't think that provision in the bill allows DHS to assign Woodbury our way. I really believe in what I read yesterday, it only applies to those 5 counties that want to withdraw from CSS. But then they could use that as a loophole too. So just so you're aware that they are not gonna let us renege, and yeah, then probably court action at some point.
Well, what I'm indicating is there's obviously disagreement of interpretation of what this says.
Yes.
And we have a contract which both parties have agreed to, and that's why I'm saying, and that can happen in any other region in the state that would have the same position, that you have a contract arrangement and we expect it to be followed. End of discussion.
One thing working for us is that this same legislation eliminates the ability of the director to waive the 3-county minimum requirement. Taking Woodbury out of Sioux Rivers would be under 3 counties.
In advance of the contract arrangement.
Yeah.
But if Plymouth and Sioux find a home,
Then we got a problem.
Well, they're gonna have to be assigned by February 19th now.
How do we know if they don't find a home that they won't be assigned to us?
but if they get assigned to us, you may not get all the protections that,
Well,
that's my big concern.
And that was part of the reason I thought you were better off to develop those arrangements before they're assigned, because they were then to come in under a mutually agreed upon arrangement. If you have the assignment possibility, they could come in and sign, okay, now we'll assign X, Y, and Z to us, and you can now renegotiate your 2080 arrangement.
But what happens if Plymouth and Sioux find a home, and Woodbury, when they get down to the end, only have $500,000 to bring into the region, clearly violating the MOU, and we say, no, we don't want you, and DHS comes back in and says, your guys are taking Woodbury with their $500,000.
Yeah. Oh, I understand what you're saying. I feel like it's
So, I don't know, Rick,
very gray.
and I'm not going to argue at this point, if we're better off having them come under our terms, which we did, or to say no, heck no, like the regions of the South did, and keep them out again. I don't know which was better.
This is all water under the bridge. We have a contract. I mean,
Yeah. And this discussion is very valuable to me, but it is out of our control, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yep. Any further on that bullet point? We ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do that ITP thing. Or is that part of
That was put down here. We'll move on to new business, multi-regional collaboration for intensive core services development.
I just wanted to give you a quick update to let you know that I have had a couple meetings with Sioux Rivers CEO, Northwest Iowa Care Connection CEO. Darcy Alt from Heart of Iowa region was invited. She hasn't been able to attend those 2 meetings. Our first initial meeting was to really look at what all of the regions had in terms of any of the core services that used to be additional core, and really start strategizing moving forward, because obviously, as I've said before, there's not going to be any way for regions to develop these services independently. We're going to have to probably share resources and work together to develop, and then probably pursue these under joint contracts. And the last meeting that we had was last Wednesday. We had a follow-up meeting at Cherokee Mental Health with the superintendent, Corey Turner, to see what, if any, involvement that they could have in terms of helping us meet the requirement of looking at an access center. Good discussion, but I don't feel that they're going to jump in right with all fours. I think that with the tertiary care hospital designation for Independence and Cherokee, they haven't even been invited to the table. There are 2 work groups that have come out of the legislation. One is for the tertiary care hospitals, which they are designated as, and they didn't even know there was a work group assigned. So I just wanted you to know that we're starting some initial discussions. No groundwork has been laid, but the one thing that I gleaned from our conversation, because there's so much that needs to be done, and these services have to be developed by July 1st of 2021. The commission is working on the rules. They are in a fast track. They have to be ready and in place by August 15th. That I really think that we're going to have to start really looking at where the priorities are. If we're gonna invest a lot of money into services that may be underutilized, I think we need to figure out what is the main priority. And one thing that the social worker from Cherokee had mentioned, out of all of the services, I gave her the wish list, what would you want first? And she mentioned the intensive residential service homes, which I've already been talking to a few providers about consideration of. And so that's kind of where we're gonna start, is looking at some of these intensive beds. The criteria for those intensive residential beds is very prescriptive. I was thinking at it in terms of, we've got 3 long-term people that have been in residential care facilities. They're our last people to move out in the community. And if we have these intensive residential service beds, we can meet their needs. But the requirements are that they had to have been coming out of a hospital or multiple hospitalizations within the past 6 months. So it's not going to be the people that we're probably serving currently. It's going to be new people that come into the system that are revolving doors at our hospitals. So I think that's going to take a lot of time and effort to even go pursue that path. But just wanted you to be aware that we're starting to work on it, and it's going to be, it needs to be a fast process, but we need to be very mindful on how to do this, because I don't want to invest a lot of our regional dollars into these services and know obviously that we can't sustain it long term. And then we're doing all of this with the hope that the managed care organizations pick up the funding for those that have Medicaid after this is all said and done. So it's pretty risky, and that's where we're going to start having discussions, but do it very, very cautiously.
Any questions? Next bullet point is Crossroads of Western Iowa contract.
Ben Schuer sent me the attachment for the contract for Crossroads, and this is just for our supported employment grant initiative. As you know, we pay the grant funds to Genesis as the fiscal agent, and they disperse that out to the agencies involved. And then we added to all of the grants this year those incentive payments with a maximum of $6,000 per individual. So Crossroads is involved in that grant, so we just need to approve their contract for next year. It's the same contract language for the Howard Center, Genesis, and Howard Center.
The maximum of $6,000 per individual, I see if they have the $1,000, $1,500, $2,100, which is after so much time on placement, it comes up to $4,500. Is that if a person leaves and comes back, or?
Terry asked me that question, whether we can, that's not adding up to 6,000. And when we had that discussion, we looked at what happens if an individual is employed, they don't like their job, they want to find something else, or they lose their job and they need that job development again. Then they find a job in their place. Could they receive that incentive payment? So we set that maximum of 6,000 per individual, so we're not paying that ongoing, and end up costing us a ton of money to do so. So it's going to be a maximum benefit per individual of 6,000. Southwest Iowa MHDS region, their maximum benefit, I believe, is 4,500 per individual. So we're giving a little bit about that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I would entertain a motion to proceed with that contract.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bullet point C, Stewart Memorial Hospital Telehealth Services Agreement.
This was a document that was developed by legal lawyers of Stewart Memorial Hospital, outlining the payment source for telepsych and the responsibilities of all parties involved. And this is the only agreement for telepsych for all of our hospitals. But when I met with Jay Rickey yesterday, he said that this was something that their legal recommended that we have in place to ensure payment. And so if you've had a chance to review that, I don't know if there's any questions. I read through it. I didn't find anything that was going to be harmful to the region. I would recommend signing.
Is there a motion to proceed?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Scott?
I did.
Neil.
Yep. Any further discussion on this agreement? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the question. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed. Motion carries. And then we amended to include,
Oh, actually,
yep,
yesterday when Jake came out to take the seat, we had a discussion about how the service is working. I think it's really gaining momentum because in the month of May, we had 28 calls to the ATP service. I would say just at first glance of the placements, probably this past month, 75% were placed in inpatient. Others were discharged with outpatient. And at the end of the meeting, he brought up the bad news that we signed on with a rate of $375 per service back in October. And then all of the other agents that had already signed on with them were at $450. So we got kind of a cut rate coming on. Well, now we have to equalize with the other regions and pay that what is now going to be a rate of $450 per service. And the way he explained it to me, I said, what's the difference? What is the cost increase? And he said that they have to meet certain targets to be able to meet their cost, and they are missing targets consistently. So that's the only explanation I was given, and I don't think we have the ability to negotiate when all the other regions are paying $450.
Well, if they come down to 375.
Yeah. I know that Heart of Iowa Region was not happy with my mention the rate that they gave us because they were already at $450.
So you're saying we won't be able to negotiate a rate? This will be mandated.
Yeah. This is what the other regions are paying. All the regions will have to get together and negotiate this for their contracts, which have probably already been signed for this next year.
But that's what they gave us, that 450 taken and leave it.
how do you want to proceed?
I think in a rural region like we are, telepsych is about the most cost-effective way of providing those types of services.
I mean, you don't have options.
No.
You just don't.
I think Cherokee's hospital has been a big utilized road too, hasn't it?
Yes. Cherokee and Crawford have been the main two.
And
And
then-
Manning has used it a lot.
And I know Crawford County Memorial is very grateful to have it. They've been using it and it's been working really well, and it's really helped ease the stress in the emergency room department and the clinics.
They only had, according to Jay, they only had a couple of patients in the Crawford Memorial Hospital that were not placed within the time frame. They ended up having a difficult time. One person had took like 90 referrals to find a placement. They were looking out of state, so.
There was one in Sac. I got a phone call last conference, but that was because behaviors. At ITP, they showed me the logs, Warren Hospital showed me the log, and within, I think, 12 hours, they had called 90 plus calls on behalf of this person, but they ended up having the person reevaluated 12 hours later, and his behaviors had gone down, so he got placed a lot quicker. And that was Loring's.
And the hospital staff used to have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're, I'm sure, very much appreciating it.
How are you going to move forward?
Doesn't sound like we have a choice, so I'll move that we sign the contract.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Why are we voting if we don't have a choice?
Because it's a formal action. If you want me to sign the contract, you're going to have to do this.
If we don't sign the contract, we pay it anyway.
You've lost the service.
We lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're gonna.
Okay, I guess that's a good reason.
All right, I'm going to call for the question. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Business agreement with ISAC.
I don't know that I need to really discuss much of this because I provided this messages to your auditors, and I think I've gotten 5 or 6 already back from the auditors. The ICTS, which is our technology system that manages all our protected health information, and if you have any questions, he's right by my side. I'm going to give you the skinny, and he can give you the detail if you have questions. But basically, because we have all of this huge database that all the counties are putting protected health information into, and ICTS is a separate entity from the regions and the counties. Business Associate Agreement is recommended by Dorsey and Whitney back to ISAC, which in turn, they are saying that the counties need to have this in place with ISAC as well as the regions. So I think the only ones I'm waiting for, I've got is.
Ours, I know, we have not
SAC.
acted on this.
You know, actually, Sioux sent me, I think it's just SAC,
Okay.
and I'm waiting on, I've got everybody. Maybe not Cherokee. I don't think.
I just handed it to you.
You said it too.
On Tuesday, we talked about it, and I didn't have enough information to recommend it, so I told them I would get it, and then it'll be on Tuesday, so.
Okay. So I'm just recommending that we sign the business associate agreement with ICTS through ISAC.
I would entertain a motion to do so.
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Are we down now to the HIPAA training?
Yes, and Gary is up.
Now the fun begins.
Yeah.
You guys all get to move, or it's gonna be behind you and.
You're not going to escape.
Oh, look, I'm saying.
Take our meeting. Clearly said 100,000 workable. Yeah. And we are there.
Chad,
It's all good.
I'll see you tomorrow at 3.
I hope they don't
Three?
come back door. You know,
All right. Okay.
Yeah, but you really can't come through the back door, because if they don't meet the terms of our MOU, they have not left the river.
Unless Plymouth and Sioux get assigned first.
Well,
But he could apply Plymouth and Sioux to
Are we getting the
some other
abbreviated?
region, and then apply.
I think it's very possible they could come in the back.
Just thought I'd ask.
Just throw that in.
unless there's
I think as far as if he needs to sign with her, any reason we're not cautioners because of what we've done.
I was afraid of that.
And maybe Rick was right, maybe
Good to see you, Neil.
maybe this MOU will stand up.
What financial services does Central Iowa Detention do for Carroll County?
we just did it.
They have you down, we had a meeting Friday.
Just say
and
ditto.
They have you down.
Your money, Carol.
I am.
like that
They had
idea.
a contract for
Time for
whatever,
Carol
it
to
was
leave.
like $200,000.
Scott said he needs to go to his car.
I've got a meeting in Carroll in the morning, that's all I got.
Uh-huh,
Yes, sir.
Oh, we can.
yes. But how do, I should have brought that stuff. You guys were listed